My name is Alex Torres. I'm Jesuit High School class of 2012, and I'm currently working as a policy advisor at Brownstein Hyatt Farber & Schreck LLP here in Sacramento, working as a lobbyist and an advocate in the government affairs and government relations sector. I think, the whole maxim of being a man for others is really pivotal. It was pivotal in my life, and it's also, I think, really impactful when it comes to having the privilege to work in public policy and to work in and around Capitol, right? It's the notion that what we do here impacts everybody. It impacts all Californians, and it sets precedent for what happens for larger conversations at the federal policy level. So the notion of being a man for others, it not only implies being good to other people, it's about having a sense of the greater good and a sense of, compromise, something that works for everybody and that uplifts all parties, all groups. And that's always been a guiding principle in my work, where we can have compromise and have policy agreements. It doesn't mean that you ignore the realities and the tough fights to be had, but you do it with grace, civility, and you do knowing it. You do it and you enter those battles knowing that it's not whether or not you win, it's how you win. And I think that's always been really important to me in a world that, lobbying, let's be candid, lobbying does not always have the best rep. That's why I prefer the term advocate, because an advocate is someone who speaks on behalf of others who don't have a voice. And so I'm honored to represent a lot of small businesses, a lot of folks who feel like the system hasn't necessarily always worked for them. And so as an advocate, not necessarily a lobbyist, but as an advocate, I find that a particularly important distinction. And I think man for others, the maxim of being a man for others, really helps guide that distinction. So I was really fortunate to kind of be all over the place during my time at Jesuit. I had played sports, I played rugby, I played football. I also auditioned for a few plays, but I was doing a little bit of acting outside of Jesuit at the time. I also loved going to local concerts, helping support local bands. And so those passions have been fairly consistent. I think they've translated to different ways. In my day job, I have the opportunity and the pleasure to represent a lot of the independent music industry here in California, so independent music venues, festival promoters. And so that passion has kind of come with me, so I get to help the local venues that I've been visiting since I was in high school, since I was at Jesuit, that helped promote some of the local bands that I would see when I was at Jesuit. And from there, I think I also developed a passion for theater and for acting. So I pursued that for the first year I was in college, but decided to pivot to another career, and that is my current career in policy and politics. And there are a lot of shared components to it, of components of politics that are very theatrical. But with lobbying, I have the opportunity to do a lot of public speaking. I have the opportunity to interact with a lot of different folks, and so you're bringing a lot of those same skill sets, knowing your audience, knowing the room, being able to read the room and the energy in the room, and direct your talking points accordingly. And so a lot of those skill sets have translated, but the passions, and I think the underlying passions remain generally the same. Ticketing. There's been a lot of bills around the ticketing issue here in the legislature, and on behalf of my client, I've been in the weeds heavily on it. On another topic, I think I'm a huge fan of Roman history and classical history, so I could probably give a pretty solid explanation of Roman civics and Greek democracy. It would be a total clash of the eras. So I'm fortunate in that I grew up, my dad and my mom have drastically different music tastes. So my spectrum is broad. There's a lot of different artists that I like. So we'd have some Stones in there, we'd have the Beatles, we'd have Led Zeppelin, some Jimi Hendrix, Stevie Ray Vaughan, B.B. King, and then going into the 80s, we'd have to have some Motley Crue, some Van Halen, some Guns N' Roses. 90s country, so George Strait, Waylon Jennings, Johnny Cash, Bob Dylan. At Jesuit, I was really into like 3 Days Grace and a lot of the kind of emo, metalcore, and so Linkin Park for sure. Nowadays, Post Malone, absolutely, and then probably whatever metalcore band I'm into for the day. But I think it would kind of span multiple decades, and that would be just an absolute all-star cast. My senior year tank. That was really cool to me at the time. We all had like our senior tanks, and so that would definitely be one of them. My rugby cleats, I really love the game of rugby. I still have the ability to play, so I'm always grateful for playing at such a great program. At Jesuit, I was able to play at LMU. Like I said, I continue to play now. So my rugby cleats, and then any sort of film artifact. I think art of film was one of my favorite classes at Jesuit, and it's always been sort of a guiding passion point for me is my love of film and cinema. And so art of film really helped, as I said, help me get into my career and my passion. The initial pursuit of acting, but a lot of those skill sets remain the same. And so I would say some artifact, maybe a DVD. I think one of my favorite movies we'd watch there was Alfred Hitchcock's Rear Window, and so it'd probably be a DVD or something from that.